Welcome.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, members of the committee. Dave Hunnicutt, Oregon Property Owners Association. That was the last few minutes for a good segue into the wildfire issue, which is really what I see as probably the most important issue for on the land use end for the 2021 session. As the wildfires are contained or are beginning to be contained, it's time to think about how the folks who've lost structures, homes or businesses, are going to be able to rebuild those structures. And like the previous panel, I've been getting calls from folks who are asking that question, and unfortunately, it's a difficult question to answer right now. We've got a big task looking at the Office of Emergency Management numbers from yesterday. We're at about 3,800 plus total structures destroyed by fire, and out of those 3,800 structures, there's almost 2,300 homes, and so those are folks that have had their lives upended, that are going to be looking to try and get some sense of normalcy back as quickly as possible. And this is a statewide issue, but the losses are concentrated really in six counties: Jackson, Lane, Lynn, Lincoln, Marion, and Clackamas counties. And so you've got 3,800 structures in 6 counties, plus a few small jurisdictions, small cities within those counties that probably don't have planning directors. These small cities, 1,000 people, maybe even smaller, are not going to have a full-time planning director on staff. And so you're going to have a number of property owners trying to get applications done in a short amount of time. What's further complicates the issue, we have probably every land use zone that's impacted by these wildfires. We have commercial, industrial, residential zones inside the urban growth boundary. We have farm zones. We've got forest zones. We've got rural residential zones. We probably have some rural commercial industrial zones impacted as well. So you have people who need to rebuild in a variety of different zones, in a variety of different contexts. And unfortunately, the rebuilding standards are going to vary from zone to zone, from structure type to structure type, and even from local government to local government. Even the land uses that we would that are pretty significantly regulated at the state level, like dwellings in resource zones, farm and forest zones, are going to, the standards vary from county to county. I've been looking at some of the different counties and how they handle replacement dwellings in forest zones, which I think will have a lot of these. That'll be a common type of structure that the property owner is seeking to rebuild, and those vary even from the 6 counties to within each one of the 6 counties. So we couple that with significant time limits on rebuilding, especially for a non-conforming use. You've got the abandonment requirements for a non-conforming use. If you don't use it for a 12-month period, then it's considered abandoned. So we couple the time crunch that people are going to have to try and get permits approved, and it really points to a whole bunch of people coming to your committee and over to the Senate side saying, I need some help and I need it now. We also have, it's not just a land use question, we also have other agencies involved and other agencies that regulate the development process, and some of their rules are going to potentially act as a slowdown or a barrier to the rebuild process. And I'm thinking of things like DEQ's sewer rules as opposed to septic systems. This would apply to the development in the small cities, the debris removal and demolition requirements and things like that. what it all points to is that we have potentially another really significant problem where the local governments are just unable, because of the sheer numbers of people that are trying to get their lives back together, to get the claims processed in a timely fashion. And all the people are seeking is essentially the right to rebuild and get on with their lives. So what I would ask the committee to do is to consider a bill that's directed exclusively at the universe of people who have lost homes or businesses or other structures as a result of the most recent fires, and with a goal of trying to create some type of quick and expedited process that would allow them to move through the system quickly, essentially go back to what they had, if that's what they choose, and make a quick expedited process so that they can do that without having to go through your normal traditional land use process, which can take, in some cases, quite some time with trips to LUBA and the Court of Appeals and and public hearings and things like that. So we can set aside whether there should be new development and how the new development should be treated. We can set that issue aside maybe and have that maybe for another bill. But if we could get a bill that was directed just towards the people that are trying to get back their lives, I would ask the committee to at least consider that, and would be very interested in working with all of you on that. I think you're on mute, Mr. Chair.
I was asking for questions. Rep. McLean.
Dave, I think everybody has that goal to try and support the businesses and the homeowners that have lost their homes in this fire. But as you indicated, the complexity is immense when we're dealing with a wide variety of needs for temporary housing and then replacement housing or being able to build on their own property. And one of the things that Mary Kyle pointed out, and that is that there's 12 to 14, trailer parks that basically they don't own the land, and that the owner owns the land. And so, I mean, to me, there's a wide variety of, we've got talent in Phoenix and Ashland, Medford, which I'm very familiar with. That's where my first teaching job was, and I'm down there a lot with just friends and family in the area. And there's a wide variety of differences between, like, Santiam Canyon and more rural and forested areas, and those areas down in Southern Oregon that are urban. These were urban cores. These were businesses along main streets. And so I want the idea that one bill might be able to handle that, or that one condition or that one filter could handle that, especially after you talked about the different county regulations. So do you have more of an expanded idea of what you're thinking?
Chair Clem, Representative McLean, yeah, that is what you said is entirely accurate. One of the complexities of the problem is that we have so many different types of development and so many different types of zones impacted. But to me, it comes right back to the people that are impacted, the people who have lost their homes. It matters not to them that they may be in, in the Santiam Canyon in a forest zone or in the city of Detroit versus someone in Talent or Phoenix. It matters not to them. They just want to go back to what they had. And so we could try and piecemeal, well, not we, you can try and piecemeal this out through the various different zones, but I think what you'd end up with is a multitude of bills. And with a multitude of bills, you have the potential that some will fall through the cracks, and some people who just want to rebuild will not be given that opportunity. And so since this is really almost as much of a process bill as it is to at least what I'm envisioning is a process bill, as opposed to a standards bill, it seems to me that a one-size-fits-all bill would probably work better than trying to piecemeal these out from county to county or zone to zone or area to area.